Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 10 of the Cross Up Podcast. I am here. My name is Daquan. Also joined by Jeremy, Chris, and Alan.
Yeah,
What's good?
Yeah. And last week it was the Tokyo Game Show we talked about. And this week, a very divisive conversation, I guess, but like what makes
Probably
an
could be.
RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some
It's
RPGs
gonna be
here.
lighthearted. What are you talking about?
It's gonna be
No,
lighthearted.
no.
What do you mean, bro?
It's
Half of
gonna
this
get
podcast doesn't play RPGs except one who plays Skyrim.
Oh my god. You should all go and play Skyrim after watching this.
Oh
If
my
I have not
God.
changed your mind, come back
Dude,
next week and I'll try again.
You'll try again. Bro, you know what? Let me pull it up. Hold on. I own Skyrim. I own the let's see, what version of Skyrim do I own? Because it's the only one. It's the only one I've ever purchased. It is where
the
the
Legendary Edition.
Oh, dude, it's not even in my library. Oh wait, no, it's an Elder Scrolls, isn't it? It's an E, not an S. Yeah, there it is.
the Elder
Okay,
Scrolls. Yeah,
I have the Elder Rolls Special Edition. I bought, and the last time I played it was 2 years ago. I have 30 hours, and let me tell you, probably most of the time is trying to get mods to work properly. And then I would try to play it, and then I didn't finish it.
The last time I played Skyrim, I got off the cart. Okay, game crashed. Well, guess I'm not playing this game again, ever again.
I guess it wasn't made for you, bro. It's fine.
No.
It wasn't
was
made
not.
for you. Yeah, no. You
the,
took an arrow to the knee real early.
Real,
Oh
real
my
early.
God.
Real early.
the closest I got was it came preloaded on my fridge for some reason. It was so weird.
Oh
It's
my
crazy.
God. This guy on the freaking fridge.
It's on the fridge, and
Was that a joke,
he was
or was that for
immediately.
real?
Amazon-
I
the
don't
Amazon
know.
Echo.
I don't know. It was so prevalent. I'm sure somebody did it.
Someone probably did do it, and it's like, damn, dude, I just opened up my fridge and I'm in the middle of a battle encounter. I don't know what to do.
And all of a sudden, I'm on the back of a cart.
It's just wild.
Wasn't there like
I
a skit of
I hope it-
Skyrim or
It was Jordan. It wasn't. No, it wasn't
No,
Jordan Peele. It was
Keegan.
Keegan.
Yeah,
yeah,
Keegan.
Keegan? Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it was. He goes, yeah. It's
it
like
was
how many?
actually from Bethesda too.
Yeah, it was from Bethesda. It was like the meme because they poured it over for everything, and he was like, "How many
Pretty much.
wheels of cheese do I have? You have 180. Just eat all the cheese. Eat all of it." So I
Let's
guess,
see what we got here.
yeah, I was gonna say. So I guess we'll start off by, in your outline, you have defined what an RPG is in general terms.
Yeah, so the first bit is, I mean, again, if you're on here, you're probably like video games. So, yeah, RPG is a role playing game. I think for the basics of an RPG, there are some universally accepted pillars that people normally say, like, okay, there's some type of story, there is some characters that you can have some type of development with, whether that's them naturally progressing themselves, you have influence, and then there are statistics and different skills that you can upgrade and define yourself within this game space. Even though those are like the general terms, you can also take a lot of these things and put them in so many other games.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
never
Yep.
just stuck
It's just
to,
the way
this
that
one little thing.
it's just the way that the RPG genre tends to do it. Because obviously, like, yeah, gameplay does have a factor in it, but I mean, you have like the story is the main focus usually. The story, the main focus, and like quest and then exploration, I guess, is like part of it. Because most RPGs, not all, but most RPGs are pretty open world, unless they're just specifically trying to get you to play through a story. Like there are certain Final Fantasies that are quote unquote more linear, should try to get the story across, which is fine as long as it's done well. Like technically speaking, a lot of the Legend of Zeldas are kind of RPGs, and I prefer the older ones that are more linear, and I'm not a big fan of the new ones. Probably controversial, but you know, as an example.
I think it is pretty high. I mean, I also agree with you, Alan. I like the older Zelda games much better.
Yeah. And even like, I know a lot of people were like, oh, that's just nostalgia because that's like what you used to play. Like, yeah, for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I can probably see that. But even me going back to play like A Link to the Past and stuff like that, those were just better games. That's just what it is. So yeah, I think
agree to disagree on that one.
agree to disagree.
Dude, I have over 600 hours on Breath of the Wild alone. And I
Mm-mm.
can tell you right now, I played all those other games too. They never held my attention. They probably
600
held my
hours doing
attention
what though?
close to it because I didn't have anything else to play.
What are you doing in 600 hours of Zelda?
That's a good
That's what I'm
question.
Every
saying.
everything. I was exploring everything. I'm not kidding. There would be times where I would be on my phone and like the subreddit would pop up and somebody would be doing something in an area of the map I had yet to see. So then I would just turn on my Switch, hop on there, go to that specific area, do what they were doing, and then that was it.
I think
I would
that's more
assume.
so on the
All
open
right,
world
I'm sorry.
exploration than like the game. I feel like you could do that on other stuff too, and
I
you would
would
have been just as
assume. At,
you know.
I would assume at 600 hours you would explore the entire map.
Mm-mm.
You know, could you imagine 600
No.
hours in Elden Ring
Yeah, and not seeing the
Well,
entire map.
and not seeing the entire map?
well, in Elden Ring, your weapons don't break, right?
No,
Like there aren't.
Yeah.
The only
that's another thing
Weapons
I
don't
don't
break
game-breaking
the
like.
thing
spirit.
is
They're
just
certainly
like
does.
skill.
Yeah.
It's just skill for Elden Ring to get through. But for Zelda, there's like the resource conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and even stamina for climbing certain areas that you want to get to. It's
With the
just
stamina,
Yeah,
I can get
then you
behind
get
it. Whatever, it's
collectibles and all that.
fine. Collectibles are fine because they're in every game. I fucking
Mhm.
hate the weapon breaking bullshit in systems. I hate that shit in games. I can't
And these
stand
I
it.
actually like
it
it
can't
for
be in
other
every game though.
No. Like
Yeah,
there are instances where those mechanics are really cool and I like them.
Right.
Like survival crafting types of games.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
And I get
100%.
it. Like Breath of the Wild does have mechanics where it's a lot of crafting and things of that nature, and you have like temperature that affects you and stuff like that. But it's like I'm trying to play a Zelda game. I'm not trying to fucking play a survival crafting game into my Zelda.
It is
Yep.
a Zelda game though.
It is, but it's not. It's not. It fundamentally is completely different. I get it. They're doing new stuff. They're trying to change it. And don't get me wrong, I'm in the minority because that game did extremely well and people love it, right? And I understand that. And I don't blame anyone for liking it. I just didn't enjoy it, and those are my reasons for not liking it.
But do you still consider it an RPG?
Yeah, it's still 100% an RPG because it still has a lot of RPG like esque mechanics. And again, you're playing Zelda for like the world and the story, right? You're not just and like Breath of the Wild now has more to its gameplay to offer the people, so it's not just the story. But like with the voice acting, the more in depth characterization of even Zelda, like it's still an RPG.
Yeah, we gonna have some more discussion on that one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have a lot of opinions on those two, but I'm not a fan. So let's keep going. We'll come back to it if it comes up.
So we can quickly just do a snapshot of like history of role playing games. Not necessarily going, I guess, chronological to like
Or
lay it out
super
as a
in
full map.
depth. Yeah.
Super depth, but in general, like role playing stuff, it does derive from D&D. People wanted to find a way to be able to just digitally see these things, and they finally was able to put it together. And I think the guy that made Ultima Online had a game franchise that went somewhat viral at that time because I think his game was one of the first ones to actually make it into like a 3D realm that was like
Okay.
fully D&D involved, which is why he ended up getting the stuff he needed to go and do Ultima Online. But obviously we had major evolutions throughout the decades of gaming being a thing. I'll save the best for last. But
Oh my god.
so obviously, no. So obviously got games like Skyrim. You got the Final Fantasy as a full series. Almost every year they come out, they revolutionize something. The Baldur's Gate franchise, and particularly Baldur's Gate 3 lately, for the way that they handle a lot of the more accessible gameplay mechanics. And then we have being able to have these type of games on a massive scale like World of Warcraft, which brings up the MMORPGs. You got EverQuest, and then obviously Dragon Quest and any type of like D&D-esque inspired game.
And that's not even talking about like the more influential ones, even like throughout the 90s and early 2000s, where you have obviously games that are still prevalent today, like Persona, Phantasy Star, Star Ocean in the early to mid 2000s, as well as even things like Xenogears, Xenoblade, and like a lot of those maybe lesser known JRPGs that people don't play as much or only played growing up. And obviously those all had an impact in some way. And yeah, Spyro, does that qualify?
Oh, it does.
Spyro?
We'll get into it.
Even the E series is like very very old, and it's
Yeah.
and it's still going right now.
Back in the power of Juju.
Also, speaking of, you haven't heard tabletop games. For the longest time, I did not realize Cyberpunk was a tabletop game until
yeah, it was
Cyberpunk
from like the
came out.
80s.
I did not
Yeah,
realize that.
tabletop had its own little comics and stuff. Like it's because again, like Cyberpunk, that one's again, it's almost in the same style as the RPG. I think to where people can take pieces of it and kind of use it around, and no one really understands what the full thing is anymore. Because it used to just be like an idea of like the future, but now it's become more than its original intent. Which
Yeah.
I can buy it right now for $85, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
I've never played it, but I've heard it's really in depth.
no, we don't. You talk about like a year-long campaign type of
Oh, I
in-depth, or
mean,
you mean just like
I think there's just like a lot of rules and things you have to understand. I don't know though. Okay, like I said, I've never looked into it. I've looked into a couple of the other systems because obviously, like I play D&D and I have a couple friends that did it. There's one system that we tried really early on. It was called Lancer, and
Lancer?
yeah, I think it was called Lancer.
Sounds familiar.
But you can choose like you have your character, and then you have like mech suits and stuff like that. It was really cool, and it was a really interesting idea. And their system was pretty simple and very straightforward. I thought the line between failing and passing was really like lax, and so I know they've been updating it as time went on with player feedback. But I like when they were announced it and we found it, it was still really early on. But like the artwork and like I said, the design overall was really cool, and I liked it.
Back at working on Gearbox, there were a lot of people who played D&D, and I never heard of D&D at the time.
Right.
And then from hearing like my coworker talk about it, I hated D&D. Never want to listen to D&D. I don't want to speak of D&D. Now I want to try it myself.
It's a lot of fun.
I just haven't had
I'm in the
the
same boat.
time
I have
to
not
do it.
played either.
It's a lot of fun, but it is very dependent on your dungeon master and who you play with. Because your dungeon master obviously is the one dictating how the game and the flow of the story is going, but also as well, like you have some dungeon masters that are really lax with the rules because there's more for fun, and so they have things like house rules. So like, okay, you like try to do something, but it's clearly against the system, but then your dungeon master can just be like, I'm gonna allow it. I'm just gonna control the outcome, quote unquote, like a little bit. But then you have some dungeon masters that are very strict by the book, won't allow anything. So they can still be fun, but like it's way more serious. And so it just depends, because you have some people that are just it's just personal preference. But it's also just like some people are assholes. Some people don't like they don't let you play how you want to play. So it just depends.
Gotcha.
Because obviously some people play for like the actual role playing, right? They're playing a character they want to get invested, which is totally fine. You can do that, but you have to be aware and like also like understand that like some people are just playing for fun. They just want to come in, be a little goofy character, but still, apply themselves to the story in their own way. And sometimes those clash, because there was one time we had someone in our group who saw Dungeons and Dragons as like almost like a video game, and so he basically was like, oh, my character can die, I'll just respawn or make a new character, where the rest of us didn't see it like that. So he didn't take it as seriously, and he just did dumb shit constantly, and so we had to like remove him from our group because it just wasn't working.
Yeah, and that's the other, I guess, like big part of this conversation to really define an RPG. And obviously, if it's in the title, it's probably going to be just like one of those like things of someone's going to click it because it's like, what is an RPG? But in all reality, no one can tell you what RPG is because
There's so many different definitions out there.
Yeah,
and so many like different subgenres like CRPG,
right?
Yeah,
JRPG,
there's just
MMORPG, like
yeah. As far as trying to just get like a core understanding of this for us four to figure out like what we all grasp as RPGs to us, this is more for this. And something I'm going to submit is that by the time we're done, I think there'll be like a little question. I'm gonna pose it now, then we'll see if we come back to it. But pretty much, does fun take priority in an RPG over the actual system?
Okay.
So yeah, I can think about that, and then we at the end of it we come back and see what everybody thinks. But within all that stuff that I mentioned earlier about, like, those things and those characteristics, those traits that pretty much people universally accept about RPGs, we have stuff like character development, storytelling, exploration. Nowadays, combat systems. Back then, it was less because just turn-based and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then quests and missions. But even within those, we have our own little nested categories. So I guess we can hit each of these and see how everybody feels about what you want out of these things, if you care about them, what your priority is for the game. So I
I
don't
think
know. Oh, go
I
ahead.
can start for a second. I think for me, there was a time where I did like a whole marathon of Final Fantasy games, and for me, the character development and the story took prevalence over everything else. Like I knew what type of gameplay I was getting into, but for me, the end result was how good was the story by the end. Like for the longest time, Final Fantasy IX, I hated Final Fantasy IX. I hated the ending. It should have ended at a certain point, but no, it kept going.
It just kept going. Yeah.
It just kept going. So then I replayed the game, like actually like from start to finish, like maybe 7 years ago or so, and I really liked the game. I still hate the ending though, but I really love the game.
I think that's fair. Because like right now, I'm pretty much going through the same thing where I'm on 8 now. But I've played like other ones too. Like I've played 15, most of the first one for 13, and obviously 14. Yeah. And then 14, I'm obviously playing, and I've played through all of that story. And then I played through 1 through 7 of the originals.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on 8. And while I do agree that the story and the characters are probably one of the more important factors, but while playing through them, the system, as far as like not even the combat system, because I'm completely okay with if that Final Fantasy genre hadn't evolved their combat system and just been turn-based all the way through, and they just gave it like a spice level or whatever, changed it up like they did in 10, 13 and stuff like that, I would have been perfectly fine. I'm also someone that loves turn-based combat, so I'm it's whatever, say what you will.
Yeah, turn-based is fun.
Turn-based is fun.
And it's like I said, it's how you implement it and make it engaging, and so like that's the difference. But yeah, the way that the system works as far as like leveling, how to evolve your character stat-wise, and like in Final Fantasy, jobs are really important. So that system is just as important as the story and characters for me, because as good as the story for 2 was, it was all right. It was like a solid. It was like a 6.5, maybe 7 on a good day for story characters. It wasn't bad, but it was pretty good. It was decent. But the system for that fucking game for leveling and conversations is the worst in the fucking series.
By far, dude.
So you have to level up. Your character doesn't have a level. It's the weapons and magic that they use. So you're leveling up each one of those things individually. And then if you want to level up their HP and defense, guess what? You just have to sit there and get your ass beaten for hours.
Now there's a trick where you can get your party to do that for you, like attack your own party members to do that. But dude, that system is so bad.
And then,
but the story's good. But the system is not.
And then the way that you progress story is they had this system where you had to learn and then use specific keywords in conversations, and that was the only way you could progress story. It was so fucking stupid. It was like tedious as fuck. Just talk to me, tell me what to do, and I'll move on.
Yeah.
Pokemon come out before Final Fantasy?
No, Pokemon was after.
Yeah, after.
Pokemon started in 1995.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Yeah.
So, like I said,
they
2
basically
is
made Final Fantasy 1 and put 2 with it. It would have been great.
So
but no, that combat system was not. It
was fucking awful. And then, like I said, I've gone on my rant. I hate the junction system in Final Fantasy VIII. I fucking hate the draw system in Final Fantasy VIII. How do you go from such an amazing, perfect system that Final Fantasy VII had with materia and equipment, and then you go to dog shit ass junction? It's fine. We'll leave it. I'm still playing through it. It's horrible. It's horrible. I'm still playing through it. It's almost as bad as 2. Not as bad, but it's getting there.
Okay,
because junction system, just like it's very similar to how in 2 you have to have a specific stat you're leveling up. So you go to the fucking junction system, you have your stupid guardian force, and they're like, okay, well, I want to level up my guardian force. You can't just level up all of its stats by just fighting. You have to pick a specific stats. It's like, oh, I'm gonna increase its magic damage. I have to battle for 40 what? It doesn't tell you. It's not XP, so you just do it until it's leveled up, and then you're like, okay, I've leveled up. That thing is maxed out now. Guess what? I just have to pick one other super specific stat to now grind away my life. It's so dumb.
A little sidetrack. So it's a guy that I raided with, and he was like, I like the remake. I like the story. I don't like the combat system. And my brain kind of exploded in real time. Listen to that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I told him, look, you have to realize each Final Fantasy game is going to try something different. If you can get past that pillar, you're good. You're golden.
You can enjoy them.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Or we can just go play Skyrim.
Oh my god.
It doesn't keep my attention, I'm telling you.
It does not.
You're just playing it wrong. That's all it is.
It's an open world RPG. There's no way to play it right. Your ass is just running around.
That is true. That is true. I don't even play the
yeah, you don't even play the story. I'm over here trying to get through the story because it's like the point of the game and I can't get through it. It's a great game to run around in and fuck around, shoot little fucking lightning at shit. But you know, other than that, what am I doing?
No, the magic is ass in Skyrim.
Oh well, I mean, if you mod it, then the magic is great.
Even then, it just feels like bigger damage numbers. Like it doesn't even feel like magic.
Maybe. I think it depends. I definitely like. Obviously, it makes it stronger, but I do it because of the variety of magic that mods give you. So at least like if you're sitting there shooting a fucking guy for a minute and a half, you can at least do different shit.
Well, it's okay. I'll say this. For me, immersion, your combat systems, and your quest are the most important things for me for a role-playing game. And I mainly say that because and I guess the exploration immersion thing, those two kind of go in hand with how the rest of the stuff works out for like combat and quest. But if you can properly, a good example is what's the name? Brandon Sanderson.
Oh,
the guy that made the Wheel of Time.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of like the Aes Sedai and their warder, and how like the combo of how energy works, it is like the basis of how every situation is handled. So like for me, if a game gets its combat and its quest and like moving around the world married, I feel like I'm actually, a thing in this world. Like, sure, there's gonna be a story going, and there's some characters that's got some cool stuff, maybe some creepy weirdos running around trying to steal your money, or whatever. But you having those decisions throughout like the combat and like making different decisions during missions or how you actually interact with it based on how immersed you feel, that's kind of my thing. Because the story, I try not to get attached to stories because I know people suck at writing. I know they suck. Like I know there's a person that's like, man, I always want to be a writer, and like I'm the next whatever the guy that wrote Dune. Like I'm the next Dune guy. I'm the next George R. R. Martin. And it's like, nah, dude. Like you're
Frank Herbert. Just FYI.
Frank Herbert. Like I'm like, nah. Everybody's not a great writer. So I'm like, I'm not gonna count on the story. There can be some good ones. And then obviously the character development goes with the bit of keeping the story up, because obviously there's no story, no characters are there to drive it. Unless you're FromSoft, then the story is the characters, and then
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. But like I just those two I leave to the side, because I'm like, if there is a cool character, cool. Because I think even from Skyrim, I know Lydia, and then I know what's that other character that pisses me off every time I see him? It's a stupid Khajiit.
No, dude, I don't know Skyrim characters. I know my character and the guy. I know the guy in the cart.
Oh my god. Oh,
that's all I got. That's all I got for it. I mean, that's how far as I got. Just him and me in the cart.
Yeah.
Let's see.
He said, so you're awake. And I was like, yeah. And I knocked the fuck out like 2 seconds later. Uninstall.
Uninstalled.
You'll come back to it. You'll come back to it.
Yeah,
No,
you'll
but,
come
but yeah,
back to it.
you'll come back to it. But yeah, and for anybody who don't know, I have like a combined like 2,500 hours in Skyrim across a lot of different platforms. I love Skyrim. It's
Including the fridge.
including the fridge. I'm working on the toaster.
Oh, yeah.
Because the fridge is stationary, but the toaster you can take with you like upstairs sometimes.
Right.
And low power,
Are you
but
toasting bread upstairs?
Who isn't?
I have before, honestly. I like bread. Anybody that don't know that, I like bread. So
Bread
like
is good.
I post like bread images places. It'll be making no sense to some people, but you gotta get that bread. But
What are you doing in those 2,400 hours of Skyrim if you're not paying attention to the story?
I am creating my own.
He's creating his own, going into dungeons with his own narrative. Like,
living his
I'm
best
here.
life.
I'm here
Exactly.
to save my wife that got stolen by these fucking
Well,
monsters.
So wait, so have you seen the credits of the game?
The credits?
Yeah. Have you beaten the actual Skyrim, like the actual story?
You
of
don't
Skyrim?
beat Skyrim. They don't have
Yeah,
credits.
because I think on the original Skyrim, the credits rolled after you beat Alduin. There was like something that happened, and you would see some information at a certain point where you're in Sovngarde. Unless I'm crazy. Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually done like the full thing.
Mhm.
But I thought they ran at that point. No. The credits are at the menu. I think you can see the credits in the menu.
You can't see it in the menu. Yes, all Bethesda games you
You
can.
can see it in the menu. Yep. I think I'm thinking of
But
another
you
game.
have
Yeah,
beaten
after you.
the main story at least.
Oh, I've beaten it like
Oh, okay.
so many times. I've tried different ways of doing it too. I've never played Khajiit though, because I don't like them.
Also, we're
But
racist, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
we are. I will give the Argonians some
thief.
something because like they still look dragonic a little bit. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, and then they can breathe underwater. I'm like, that's cool. I can just go down there and do
So-
stuff. But the Khajiits, it's like
What do y'all
10%
do?
You
unarmed
talk a
damage.
lot about
I'm like,
Skyrim.
the fuck?
What's wrong with Oblivion and Morrowind?
So
They're dated.
the
I don't
reason
want that excuse. No.
the reason actually before I get into this, Chris, were you gonna say something about
No, I was just gonna. It's a stupid aside, but so the Wheel of Time was actually written by Robert Jordan. It was just finished by Brandon Sanderson after Robert passed away.
after he passed away? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I
Gotcha.
forgot
So
about
that was
that. I'll
it.
be honest.
That was
Yeah,
it.
I that part I did not know. So
Yeah.
thank you for yeah.
It's like, give this
Um,
man his credit. He's not here
Yeah,
anymore.
well, yeah,
Give it
he
credit.
worked hard on that. Yeah, it was a big deal when it happened because he like took over at the behest of the family. Like they asked him to do it. It's a huge honor. But yeah,
Yeah, it's actually
that
kind
was
of
it.
crazy. I didn't know that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that part I didn't know because by the time I knew who Brandon Sanderson was, it was like Wheel of Time. I'm like, oh, this is this guy. So I didn't. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, the thing for why I didn't bring in Morrow and Oblivion. So I think as far as cultural relevance and also what it meant for video games,
Mhm.
Skyrim just straight up dwarfs those other two combined. And I even put it to the perspective of for game development as well. The fact that the 360 was also in collaboration, like Xbox was in collaboration with Bethesda to figure out exactly what they needed in order to have these new titles put out so that they have that big relationship and they can showcase Skyrim as a 360 launch. And to this day, they still do that with Bethesda titles. That's why every time there's a new console, it's
Yeah.
like Skyrim's the first things on it. It's a very important piece of technology for both the player and for the developer. So that's why I'm always interested in what they've done with Skyrim because it's a very modular system as well, the way they have it. Because if you look at the creation kit, it's ugly, but like everything works, and like it's really really cool that you can just. It literally is like a tabletop experience just in 3D, like in like scripting and stuff like that. It's just it's cool how they put it together and how even somebody who doesn't know how to game develop or whatever can get in and like make their own mods and like start making their own quests and stuff. That's why I put Skyrim in here, because they also influence CD Projekt Red to do like the Red, what do they call it?
Red Engine.
Red Engine. Like, right, like all these other people are now doing like full mod support and stuff. I mean, I don't know about the monetization, but that's another conversation about.
Did you say 2 weeks ago you don't like remasters?
I don't. But
Did you say
again,
hold on? Did you say 2 weeks ago you don't like remasters? Yes or no?
I don't like remasters. You correct.
No further
I do
questions, Your
not.
Honor.
No further
No.
questions, Your Honor. We can move on now. Thank you. I'm glad we got our point
We got
across.
him.
No. And again, for me, the Skyrim thing, because I know it's more than the money for the game.
It
It's
doesn't seem
also
like that on that
for.
price point when I see it every time it's
I mean,
Yeah,
remastered.
you're right. The price point.
it doesn't.
Honestly,
Ain't fixed
I
on
can
that
agree.
crash. I'm
I
saying.
can agree. It should not be.
Now let's say they did it every time and it was $20, then I'm with you 100%. But I think the last time they
Honestly,
remastered it, I think it was like 50.
Yeah, my thing for Skyrim is I thought that they would just do like a $10 upgrade to
Yeah,
get the remaster.
that too.
Think
That
That
could
was
work.
hard
my
was $10 for
original
me,
thought.
bro. What the fuck? Come on, man.
But yeah, the fact that I was like, oh, 50, and then it's like, yeah, I mean, and I know it takes work, and I get that
Right.
they've like be reinventing the engine and some crazy shit that they made from scratch, and they have to like keep updating it. But
Bro, you ready for this? I'm sorry, real quick.
yeah,
Skyrim VR, $60. No, thank you, sir. What? No,
Yeah,
no,
I remember that.
yeah, no, we don't.
no.
But yeah, but
So you haven't played that
remaster,
one, have you?
it's. I have not. I have not played Skyrim
Uh,
VR.
Because I
Looks
That's
have a
like
VR
the
headset
one.
somewhere around here. I'll make sure it's in to you so you can play it.
Yeah,
My
looks.
buddy has a Quest 3 right here, and I'm looking like,
Oh
You know
my
what? You can. It's
but
like
I'm not gonna.
no, your ass. I can already see it, bro. If we were friends on Steam, as soon as this podcast is over, your ass is gonna be like Skyrim VR is now.
for the first time.
But again, like the Skyrim thing, I'm not obsessed. I haven't played it in a while. I've played the Elder Scrolls Online instead. I finally got that going, but yeah, no, the Skyrim just is more of an overall impact to gaming as a whole than the other two. I would
So
say
that's like
confidently.
character systems, quests, like the whole shebang.
I would say the whole shebang, because what Bethesda did was done again by CD Projekt Red later on, to where like in modern audience who would no otherwise grab this type of title picked it up because of all these well presented items. Like, oh, you can be Geralt, you can use him as a vehicle wherever you want him to be, and then it's like good combat, there's magic, there's women, there's all this stuff here. Whenever people do stuff, and even Baldur's Gate 3 with Larian, they also did it again. And FromSoft with Elden Ring, bringing in folks who would, whenever those type of games happen, is why I end up like saying like, okay, yeah, this is like that pivotal thing. To like say this is what sets the standard and defines what needs to be called a what. Because you say RPG now, most people will have Skyrim on their list, whether it's in the top 5 or the top 3. It's just up there. I mean, now you got Cyberpunk and The Witcher
Do
3.
you-
I really don't like The Witcher, I'm be honest, but that's for
Nope,
another
never
video.
That's okay.
Just a quick question. Do you
Yeah.
think Skyrim would be just as prevalent if it hadn't been remade that many times? Like if they made it once, maybe a second time, and then that was it. Do you think people would still consider it as prevalent?
I think they would, primarily for the journalism around games. It would always be referenced.
Now, okay, so
Like,
that's where I disagree a little bit. I think it would still be a massive game. I still think the impact that it would have would still be very similar to what it is today. But I don't think it would have sold nearly as much or even gotten the attention that it has and is praised as much as it has if it hasn't stayed relevant with the memes and the constant remastering of the game. Like if it only came out once and let's say they remastered it just the one time for like the anniversary or whatever, I still think it would be very influential and I still think it'd be crazy, but I think it'd be closer to like The Witcher 3, not Skyrim.
something weird, something interesting about that. So I was thinking when you asked the question, and it made me think about what was it? Was it Borderlands?
Mm-hmm.
the movie came out
Hmm.
and people were upset, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, Borderlands numbers surge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the weird thing with Bethesda is, and this can be taken however want to be taken by whoever watching this. I don't think they have done better than Skyrim since they launched that damn game.
Oh,
I think
100%.
Skyrim has
No.
been the best title they have ever put out, and they have been fumbling since. Like even Elder
Yeah.
Scrolls Online, it is a good game, but not.
Questionable, but we'll keep going.
And whose fault do you think that is?
Look, we want to talk
No,
about
I'm the answer,
leadership.
sir.
We
What's his name? Cod.
Is it COD
uh,
Coward? COD Coward?
no, I think it's Harry or something. Maybe I don't know somebody, but like
Cod
it's
Howard. Oh, something. You know.
I I don't know. I don't I think again for the relevance of what the game means to people, because even before Baldur's Gate 3 launched, people were still bringing up Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah.
Like they would still bring that thing up. Like, and it was what, like a decade? It was like 11 years or something since
No,
the
it
last.
was closer to like 20.
Oh dear God! Yeah,
Because you
like
remember Baldur's
again,
Gate came out in the 90s, or like it was either early 2000s or late 90s, and then Baldur's 2 came out almost like 2 years after, like a year or two after.
Oh yeah,
And
it was
then
a
they
short
hadn't
turnaround,
released,
and then,
and they hadn't released 3 in a
yeah.
while.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking in my mind. If Skyrim hadn't remastered, I don't know. Like the sales, they got most of their sales from like the initial like first 4 or 5 years.
Okay,
Mhm.
here we go. Sorry, real quick. Baldur's Gate came out in 1998. Baldur's Gate 2, 2000.
There you go. See, 22 years
Ooh.
pretty much.
22 years. That's insane. That's just
Jeez.
insane. But yeah, I think Skyrim would still be as relevant as far as an important title. I don't think it'll be as popular to talk about.
Okay, that I can
But I
agree
think
with.
it'll
Yeah,
be,
I think it would be just as relevant because of the impact the game had. Because even
but
by
just not
those
as popular.
numbers, then it sold ridiculously,
Yeah, it was disgusting.
and it was
Straight up
literally
disgusting.
what people talked about for like the next 3 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that I went to high school with who was
Mhm.
so in love with this game, like that's all he played for the next like 6 years pretty much. Like he was
Yeah,
that
that was-
invested, and like I know he wasn't the only one. Like obviously you're here, but but yeah, so like I know the game was good and like it had a huge impact, but yeah, like you just said, I wouldn't have been anywhere near as popular if it didn't have all these re-releases.
Pretty much. And this
Daquan,
is
you-
the side thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
But there's only one game that pulled me away from Skyrim.
Call of Duty.
That was Destiny.
Oh,
That was
Destiny.
Oh,
Interesting.
Destiny.
All right.
And that'll probably be another
All right.
video, a whole video about Destiny.
Thank you for
We got some
coming to our
Destiny.
weekly Skyrim rant. Bethesda, at this point, will you please just sponsor us? Contact us at our business email. Thank you.
By all means.
So,
By all
Daquan, you mentioned Skyrim because of expiration. Like Skyrim to you is Cyberpunk to me.
yeah.
When the game first came out, obviously it was a hot mess, and I get that.
I got a refund.
But
Yep.
over the
I got a
I got a
refund.
refund.
no, my
I
God,
bought
I did
it
not
on
get it.
the Xbox. I bought an Xbox One, a series or whatever, just to play
Series
that.
X, yeah.
And,
Yeah, but like with the continuous updates and like the 2.0 and all with
It's
all
really good
the
though.
game
It's
in the
really
whole
good though.
very
complete.
good now.
The game is great. Like it's just like there's a trophy in it just to find all the fast travel centers. Apparently, I haven't done that, and I've went a whole like.
I bet you're missing like one specific one in the middle, fucking like just random like bitch right there.
Yeah, and I've been in almost every part of the map.
Right.
Mm.
You know, I think it's not as impactful, but I think it's still a really important series, even in Bethesda's roster. What you guys, at least your experience with like Skyrim and how impactful it was for you and how invested you were, but and like the way you talk about Cyberpunk, for me, and what even got me interested, because like I think I've mentioned it before, growing up, like once I really got into gaming like hardcore, where I was doing it every day growing up too, but obviously like I was still going outside. But once I hit like middle school and early high school, I was pretty much just go to school, go home immediately on my Xbox, and I was playing like Halo 3, Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, and then Call of Duty, whatever iteration was going on at the time, right? And it was like, I want to say I was like 16, maybe 17, when I got like tired of just playing Call of Duty every year and stuff like that, and I was like, I want to try something new. And the first game that I gave a shot, other than like, because obviously like growing through there, I've tried like BioShock and things like that, and obviously BioShock was fucking amazing, BioShock 1 and 2, but I didn't explore everything. Like I played through the story and it was fun, and like that's like a lot of those games, like even Mass Effect, right? Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, I played through, and I didn't explore. I just played the story. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I loved the characters, and then that was it. But Fallout 3, I had a friend who lived across the street from me, and he let me borrow his Fallout 3, and it had the DLC disc with it. So like it installed all the DLC. I just played through it, and man, I don't know what it was about it. I was like fully immersed. I was like running around finding every legendary weapon that was hidden, like Abraham's repeater and all that stuff, and I explored every inch of that map on the 360. And
That's
it is
another
just as
franchise
good every time.
I tried that game too. Fallout, at least Fallout 4.
Trying to
And
Vegas.
I like Fallout 4. That's the crazy part. It was actually good to me.
Oh, I like 4. I didn't like love every part of it. Like I didn't like how the story ended. Like you had to choose a faction and the way that it ends.
Yeah.
But I did like the journey throughout it, and I like the premise of the story, and I also just like the characters. Like that's one of my favorite things, and I wish Bethesda wasn't so stuck in the way they made games. Like that's why I didn't like Starfield.
Yeah.
But I do love the way they do character writing and stuff, like those moments.
Mhm.
And the DLC was really good for Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 is essentially just like Fallout 3 in New Vegas, but it feels like better to play because it's like newer and a little more polished, and it looks nicer, obviously. So I mean, I have a lot of qualms with 4, but I still had a lot of I still had a good time, and I put a lot of hours into 4.
Yeah, 4 is a fun time, and yeah, way more accessible
Yeah,
than
for
some of
sure.
the other Fallouts. Yeah.
So,
That's for sure.
so on that line, we have the combat systems, which I think in the most recent times has been more controversial, especially
Yeah.
not, I'm not gonna say outright removal of turn-based, because there's still turn-based games out there. Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, Atlas.
I gotta say, dude, I like action games. Like obviously, as a great example, Devil May Cry does the best. No one does it better. Like Devil May Cry 5 specifically is fucking phenomenal. I still go back and play that one randomly when I just want to play a fucking cool action game with amazing characters and story, right? And Final Fantasy 16, granted, was closer because obviously it's the same fucking designer, right? So the gameplay felt fucking phenomenal, and I really liked it. It wasn't perfect. There's a couple things that I wasn't totally on board with. Whatever. It's like little nitpicks though. They're not like anything. But I will say, I'll take a more engaging and fleshed out turn-based system over Devil May Cry 5's like perfect combat, even though it feels fucking phenomenal to play, especially in a game that's like an RPG where you're like leveling up and you're like making your character stronger, and you're invested and immersed in the story. The strategy element of the way you rearrange your team, the way you build those characters, is way more engaging and fun than me sitting there parrying or dodging. And
that's why I'm more excited. That's why I'm excited for Metaphor and that Expedition 33 game.
Expedition 43 is the one I'm most excited for. Metaphor looks fantastic, and so I'm excited for those. But yeah, like I still remember I remember a lot of the boss fights in like Devil May Cry 5 or even Final Fantasy 16, because again, they're super cool and they're a lot of fun, but they're not as like impactful to the story as like the final boss to me that was Persona 5. Because I play the games, again, I've said this before, I don't do a lot of grinding or side quests my first time through the game, because I want to get through all the hard parts of the game, which are the ending and the final boss, minimum level, where it takes like actual strategy of me like thinking my turns through, like, okay, is this like a defensive turn? Is this where I recover, use items to try to like get ready for the next like big DPS phase, quote unquote? Like the final boss in Persona 5 for me, the first time I played through it, took me 2.5 hours. Took me 2.5 hours of grinding out and going full strategy, finding out like, okay, where do I need to use these defensive buffs or these offensive buffs and things like that. And I think that's just way more fun, and at least for me, and engaging, and just like I think a better experience overall than another example is Final Fantasy 16's final boss, where I used all my healing in the first phase, and so for the next few phases, I'm not gonna say how many to not ruin it. I had to play perfectly, had to dodge, parry, fucking everything, and I'm a gamer. I fucking did it. You know, I'm just the best around. What can I say? But but and as cool as it is,
Shameless
right in
plug.
them, and as cool as it is to feel that, it's not like I didn't feel as good afterwards than I did like when I finished Persona 5 and I saw the credits roll.
Yeah, because turn-based is just a whole different type of like thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's action-based, you just press a button and just
because
hope for the best.
in Final Fantasy 16, it was literally just me reacting and hoping I pressed the right thing at the right time, and I learned its patterns and things like that. It's way different in like turn-based combat, because in turn-based combat, you implement multiple different enemies. They have different weaknesses. You have to worry about different things. And in turn-based combat, there's also kill moves or moves that do a shit ton of damage if you're not like blocking a single turn, you know, things like that that you have to worry about, which is just, in my opinion, better.
Yeah. I will also agree for combat systems. I hate real time
Action.
I like for role playing experiences, it always just has me like kind of taken aback because it's like, what is the focus here? Is the focus me feeling like a god? Because if that's the case, like, why does it need to be a role playing experience? Like at that point, just just God of War this thing, just
Right.
literally God of War, which
It's
my
a whole
heart
other
goes here.
thing.
God of
We
War.
went about this again. Yeah. Because like as another example, because we were just saying that like in Final Fantasy 7 through Rebirth, I'm still playing Remake. Haven't finished Remake because I have that problem. I don't even have an issue with the combat system. I think it feels fine. Like you just like again, you learn the patterns, you learn how the system works. It's pretty cool. It feels pretty good. But when I'm playing through it, I'm so invested in these characters because it's my favorite Final Fantasy, right? I love the characters. I know what to expect, and so I'm having a great time seeing them interact, hearing their voice lines, finally getting to see these interactions all played out. And then all of a sudden we're in combat, and I'm like, oh, that's right. I have to like play the game now, and it takes me out of it. And like I've seen gameplay for Rebirth, and again, it looks more fleshed out and more fluid. But then you see the really cool combo attacks and stuff like that, but you're still involved in the combat, so you have to like you can't just sit there. Would it not have been way better to just let that be turn based, and that way you could actually appreciate the time and effort, the animation, and the cool like really cool interactions with the characters? I don't know. Like I know a lot of people do like it, and I know there's probably even a good portion of the sales probably wouldn't be there if it was turn based, but I think it would have been better if it was.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people that say, and again, this is me wheeling the things back into Skyrim here. Skyrim's combat, a lot of people say that it's like trash. For me, especially, I am like a heavy systems like designing type of individual.
Wait, you don't
Gotta
you're
give
having Simpsons, but you don't like The Witcher 3?
No, and
Interesting.
this is exactly why. So, The Witcher 3, I can't stand because it is made for cool factor and not function. Like the signs in The Witcher are the most functionality because there are certain enemies you have to use certain signs in order to like damage.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it ends. After that, it's just about spinning around looking cool as Geralt. And I'm like, I don't care about that, right? Like I would prefer I find a sword that is like, this is the sword of something and use this to hurt enemies of this type. Like, and I know the silver sword in The Witcher hurts, creatures or whatever more than the regular sword or whatever. But for me, like in the role playing experience, I would rather go and find the artifact that does the thing than it's just like, no, I just need to keep upgrading this one thing I have on my back, keep putting things on it in X, Y, and Z. I'm like, no, let me find the Daedric Sword of Fire. Awesome, that's fantastic. I'm going to use this now and just move forward. Skyrim's combat is it was I think one of the best expressions of a mixture of real time and strategy because it is so simplistic that every action actually matters when you do it. And people go in trying to just swing and swing and swing, and then they're just looking like, "Oh, you're not dying," and it's like, well, it's supposed to be a more. And let me preface when I say supposed to be. within the design of Skyrim is made to where you can outfit yourself for the situation like you would with a turn-based scenario. Like when you have your characters with a specific move set, you know exactly what you want to do in any situation, and it's built that way. But people want to go in with an action mindset, and then they're looking like, this combat's boring. I can't do this. I'm like, it's not really
And
built
yeah, like I can
like that. Like,
understand where you're coming from with that because, again, I don't know if it's just because of the impression the game gives off. And I can see from a
mhm,
design perspective, sure, the combat system is really well thought out, blah, blah, and all that, right? But
yeah,
as someone that's just playing the game, going through Skyrim, being introduced to it, and not having that
yeah,
understanding, right? It's super stiff. It's pretty slow. And even when you try to play a little bit farther back in defensive, it doesn't tell you those things, right? It's so like as an
yeah,
average player, right? Because again, I get what they're going for because it is a really well thought out system if you actually take the time to learn it and do whatnot. But most people aren't going to do that.
mhm,
And so it's also on the developer's
yeah,
job to also make it easier to pick up because they could have explained that if they really wanted to. There's ways to do it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so as a game, they failed in that
pretty
perspective.
much.
But
Yeah,
again, I
yeah, the
don't think it
onboarding.
takes away from the game, obviously, because people still love it. But I think as the
Mhm.
system itself, if we're just taking the combat system, it's too stiff, it's way slow, doesn't explain its real intentions, and it failed.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, and that's something that the newer RPGs, which are why people like The Witcher and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these other things, bore because of the presentation.
Yeah.
And I made that statement to a few people a couple of times, and they get really upset, like, "Oh, something you think The Witcher is just a trash game?" I'm like, "No,
No,
it's an all right
you
game for
just don't like the
somebody."
combat system, right? So it's
I'm
fine.
like, I can't stand the combat system. And
Yep.
also
Yeah.
Geralt sounds like a dry old man. I don't want to hear in my ear every day. Like, I'm sorry. Like it's cool and all. The world is cool. You know, the game is gorgeous, but I'm like,
Henry
the
Cavill is
presentation for
amazing.
me,
Right.
and here I mean, yeah, he's fantastic. But I'm like, I just yeah, the presentation of certain things don't draw me in. It's me like seeing the stuff and just being like, I can see myself playing that for a minute. Like
Yeah.
I see the pacing, cool. But for The Witcher, dude, I'm like, it felt like I'm trying to play Devil May Cry, and I'm like, I don't
You
want
know,
that.
what's funny is
Like,
you're sitting here doing this thing and you get shit for it. I own The Witcher
mm,
3. I've tried to play The Witcher 3 multiple times. And it's not that I
Mhm.
mm,
didn't like it or anything like that. It wasn't even that I didn't like the combat system, but something about it, and maybe it's because the way people talk about it and hype it up, it
yeah,
wasn't grabbing me. I wasn't my attention wasn't being held. And again, it could be just because it's early game, right? I'm sure like a game like that, and I understand with JRPGs and stuff like that, it takes time to get into. But at least with those
mm,
JRPGs, even if they're like overhyped, I don't know if it just fits more of what I'm into, like the setting and the world and stuff. I can usually like
yeah,
it'll keep my attention. Like if I can stay through a fucking 2 hour tutorial of a Persona game, like I shouldn't have a problem getting through like the early stages of The Witcher. But something about it just isn't like
yeah. Something
wants
about
me to
it.
keep going. So it's just missing something that at least for me wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yep. Which the Jeremy's thing about Cyberpunk 2077. Um,
Oh, that game I was all in, but that's me.
I was pissed because I got it, you know,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Xbox and it didn't work. And I was so pissed. I turned that thing in so quick. But within 6 months, I went and purchased it on Steam.
Yeah.
So it's sitting in my library. And the funny part to me is, between the two games still made by CD Projekt Red, I would still prefer to hop into Cyberpunk
Right.
because it still has the same formula as like the Skyrim combat, to where stuff is methodical. You have to kit out. You got to figure out like, what am I in this space, rather than just having everything you need at any given moment and just your action skills solve the problem.
I
Yeah.
also just like
So
the variety that Cyberpunk can give you. You can go full melee
exactly.
combat with hacking capabilities, or go full like agility melee, or running around with
Mhm.
us with guns and stuff like that. So like it may on the surface not look like a lot, but it's a really in-depth
Yeah.
system that lets you do a lot. So I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of
Oh
that
yeah.
alone. Like that alone will keep me invested in a game to try shit.
Yeah. Pretty much. Which that will be the next game on my list. So I will
Yeah.
be trying to do that. But I guess we're on quest and missions.
Yeah, we can talk about quest and missions for a bit. I mean, I'm probably the
Uh,
worst about that, but you know.
Yeah, I
yeah,
do side quests like crazy.
Yeah, see, I'm not a side quest enjoyer, I'll be honest. There are specific side quests in
Oh.
games that I'm like,
I love side quests.
yeah. See,
Mhm.
there's certain side quests that like I'll hear like a premise or I'll hear like whatever, and I was like, oh, and I'll randomly be like, that's what I'm doing for the next like 3 hours, right? But then like most of the time, I'm like, I don't care. The reward's not worth it. Like my brain going through the ADHDness is like, that's not worth my time. Move on.
I'm also
That's not worth
not
my
a
time.
big,
Move on.
yeah, I'm also not a big side quest person either.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, like in Remake, I platinumed that game. I did
Yeah.
all the side quests. In Rebirth, there's too many damn side quests. I ain't
There's a
doing
lot.
that
There's
shit.
so much more.
I'm not doing that.
I guess the
No.
way for me is like the side quests aren't necessary for me to beat the game because the game can still be beaten by either my skill or my strategy. So I don't
Yeah.
need whatever the side quest is going to give me so I can move on.
No. And it's not just that, but like side quests in general, they're all the same. Go here. Go pick this up.
Well, no, that's why like that's why I said specifics. That's why I said specific side quests are good because like Borderlands, I think does side quests decently well. Like Borderlands 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I didn't play 3 all the way through, so I don't know.
Face.
Yeah, so like stuff like that, those are fun. I'll do that all day.
That's fun.
But like if it's like the generic side quest of go here, kill thing, go here, gather this. Yeah, I won't do that.
Yeah.
I won't do that.
I don't like. I can't think of a company who's like attempted to try and change that formula because it's the same formula in every RPG. Go here, pick this up. Go here, farm this. Go here.
Well, the
Escort
only one
mission here.
there's one that did really do something,
say
and I ain't
Skyrim,
giving them credit.
If you
No,
say
it's not.
No, it's actually
not.
not.
It's
They didn't.
Okay.
it's The Witcher.
Yeah,
The
The Witcher.
Witcher, like CD Projekt Red with The Witcher 3, they redefined what a side quest means, and I don't know. Like you mentioned, with people having to like figure out what to do with these side quests. Those hours I put in Skyrim, I was doing in my head what CD Projekt Red actually took the time to do.
Right.
So like if I see a note somewhere, I'm reading the note and I'm be like, developer put this note in here. Now I'm gonna come up with some weird shit. I'm gonna get on my horse, play the music, and like go that way and see what's over there.
Right.
I'm
He's talking about a cave
that's
that
what I
way,
was
then I'm
doing.
going that way.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, what's that way? And then whatever happens in that cave is what happens for the day. And then I put some of the survival stuff in there where you gotta like eat and stuff. Is weird shit.
Yeah,
But
like the side quest
CD
thing.
Projekt
That's what plagues Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
They don't have very good side
Where's
quests.
there side quests in Spider-Man? What do you?
It's just
Spider-Man.
mindless things for like the platinum trophy and like thing. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm sitting there looking like you're Spider-Man. Everything you do should be
It's a
the
side
main
quest. It's a side quest.
I mean,
Everything.
yeah, like that,
nothing
that's
is.
not the-
Well, you're Spider-Man. Nothing's the main quest. It's all side
Exactly,
quests.
nothing's the main quest. You're all just
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Plus, you get to swing around the city.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
well, you know what? You just answered that. Yep, you get to swing around the city.
Yeah.
That's why they.
Yeah.
That makes
Now,
sense.
Spider-Man 2, there is a very good side quest. I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it.
I
But
know what it is.
other than that,
It's all the other garbage. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
what
Oh
it
my
is.
God,
I saw
I
the
just-
spoilers. Everyone, I will leave a link in the description for exactly what I'm joking. No,
What were we gonna say, Chris?
That's that just made me realize that I haven't played Spider-Man 2.
I haven't
I
played it
completely
either.
forgot
So.
that game existed.
Well, I haven't played the
even
first
played
one
that.
yet. So
I played
Yeah.
I played the first one and then Miles Morales, and then I completely forgot about the second one. There's
Yeah.
too many games out, man.
there's
Wait,
so much to
Miles
play.
Morales is separate from the second one.
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
separate game that costs $40,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it was
so
only
very
like
good game.
10 hours.
he has
something
a
like
fade.
that.
He has a fade in that one. Corey, you should play that one.
That was
Is it
good.
what?
He has a fade in that one.
Oh, he
Mhm.
does?
He has like
Oh,
an
yeah.
actual.
hairstyle.
There's
Yeah,
actual
yeah, for a
variety in
hairstyle.
his hairstyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
He's not a Miles B. Jordan. That's
No,
crazy.
no, that's crazy.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Okay.
That's before they were like, oh, this is the optimal haircut.
This is the optimal haircut.
It's just so crazy. This, dear God.
I had my rant
that
in the
damn
first
thing.
episode, in the 2XK
Oh yeah, the
episode.
2XAO. We talked about that because Echo has he's the Echo B Jordan of that game.
Yeah,
So.
Echo B. Jordan. Oh God, he had such a cool hairstyle too, and then he
It's just a mohawk, bro. It's fucking sick.
Sick enough, I guess.
Right. And I guess that we can also discuss, like, do you think a game, if the main story is good enough, like, do the side quests really matter? Should we have more
Yes.
variety? I think so, but I'm
They
just
should.
putting the question out there to see if someone
They
randomly
most
thinks
definitely
differently.
should matter.
Yeah, they definitely matter. And even from a game design standpoint, I can't remember if it was think it was a level designer for Bungie.
Mhm.
They made a statement at one of the GDCs where they said that you need to have appropriate like breathing rooms from the intense stuff that you want the player to do, because if you don't give them the breathing room in your game, they're going to find it elsewhere.
Right.
So for the side quests, it's
That's
I
what it should
think
be.
yeah, it should be that breathing room, which then also comes into the conversation of like, well, what does that look like? And also for like you mentioning, for it to still be worth your time to go do, because it's
Right.
still supposed to be something to go do. And Jeremy mentioned, killing 50 chickens probably ain't gonna be
No.
the best way for a downtime.
Like I'm sure games, like I can't think of a game off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure there is a game where they try to incorporate side quests like in the main quest. You know what I mean?
Well, Mass
Like the main
Effect does
quest is
that.
going, huh?
Yeah,
Mass Effect does that.
Okay, yeah, Mass
Skyrim
Effect.
does it.
Yeah, like
Skyrim does do it,
they
but
like
yeah.
you play the main quest, but then like they say
There's
something. They
yeah,
like some
there's
optional topic.
constant moments. I don't remember if they do it in the first one, but there's constant moments in 2 and 3 where they give you like, okay, this is what we're supposed to do, and you can either choose the order you do it, or you can also do side quests to get like bonus people to join you, or like
Right.
different
Yeah.
guns and stuff, or they tell you specifically like, hey, I heard there's like a shipment or something, blah blah, like over there, we can go check it out if you really want to. And I remember in I think it was the third game towards the end, and like the final battle, I'm pretty sure it was a side quest. You could go to different parts of the galaxy first to try to get more support for the final battle, and then you then go do it.
Yes, the way that stuff
been
is
a while,
incorporated, that stuff is good.
Yeah, I
But
like
if you
that
ask
stuff.
me to go out there and pick up 10 sunflower seeds, bro,
It's like that shit. Yeah, just like you said, bro. I think it's so funny because the way they phrase it is always so eloquent. When in reality, you show up, this person's like, "Yeah, these fucking things have been terrorizing our village. Go commit genocide over there for a bit."
Yeah.
Yep.
And it'd be orcs and stuff too. It's like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
got personalities and families. It's
Yeah,
like,
like I
no.
just murdered that dad for no reason.
my man's had a job 9 to 5.
He's just trying to
Exactly, a
feed
whole
his
9 to 5.
family. And just because you're racist toward them, I got to go murder them now. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure. I think it's important, but I don't know. Like from their perspective, it's just like, oh, we just need to give them something mindless to do to relax instead of taking the time and effort and money to like develop more interesting things. Because if you start implementing things that aren't that generic shit, then you have to like implement writers and you have to implement like more creativity and time into those things and whatever systems. Like sometimes side quests will have like little mini games you can do in some games. Well, now you have to take the time to develop those things. So it's just like, yeah, they probably just don't want to put the resources and time into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which also, I guess, for the conversation of the player, another bit is like trying to figure out what's the draw for the player, I guess, for an RPG. Because on here we have player agency, and then we have how do you feel about the consequences and moral choices. Like
Okay.
which one of those, or even like the combination of that conversation for what a player seeks within the process. What do y'all feel like the biggest impact for the player should be?
I know they talk
normally,
about.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I know they talk about games that give you choices, but if those choices don't matter at the end of the story, why are you giving me choices?
Right.
Like,
It's just for your
please.
little fucking like
stop it.
personal flair, I guess.
Stop.
No, that's like I said. Like I think Mass Effect does it like one of the best ways.
Yeah.
In recent memory, like I know there's other games that do it. Like I know Baldur's Gate is a big one that does it, right? Like your choices actually fucking impact the story. But Mass Effect, they give you just like Fallout, but Fallout it doesn't really impact as much as like your actual fucking thing in Mass Effect. So you have like you're either good, which is Paragon, or you're evil, or is it the other? I don't remember what they're called, but essentially good and evil.
That is Renegade.
Renegade, that's what it is. And like if you're Paragon, everyone sees you in a holy light, they want to talk to you, you're super nice or whatever. But the really funny ones, and you'll see a bunch of clips of it, is if you're Renegade, your skin starts to crack, your eyes glow red, and your choices, like they even tell you, like your choices will tell you like, hey, this is a Paragon choice or this is a Renegade option. And like one of my favorite instances is you get this annoying fucking reporter who's always criticizing the way you do shit. Whether you're like, even if you saved hundreds of thousands of people, she's gonna focus on the 1,000 that died type shit, you know. And you're if you do renegade options on her, after like the second or third option, you just punch the fuck out of her. It's like, fucking leave me alone, and you walk away, and she keeps doing it, and you can actually just keep fucking knocking her ass out. It's so stupid, but it's just things like that. Like, things like that actually matter, and like, you know, it's not just your reputation, but like the choices you make can determine whether someone actually lives or dies. Right. And like, you know, even in as early as Mass Effect 1, you can choose a specific crew member to save or kill, and then they're no longer in the rest of the trilogy as long as you have your save files.
Right. So please, if you're marketing the game and you're giving me choices that impact the game, make sure those choices actually matter.
Yeah. Otherwise, just give me the normal dialogue that you intended and just let me do that. Like, I'd rather do that than sit here, think about my choice maybe for like 3 seconds, and then it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things I can't stand is Final Fantasy 14. Why do you give me so many choices when the story's going to be the same anyways? Just for a little personal flair, I don't care. Just tell me the story. I don't need to really respond.
Yeah.
See, this is why Gears of War is still goated and
yeah,
is highly
100%.
underrated.
Yeah, 100%.
Underrated.
With some of the best out there, dude. Crazy.
What is this thing?
Who do you want to go to next?
I guess we just...
Yeah, we can just move on to the next little topic. We talked about that for a while.
Yeah, we
yeah,
did.
these two right here kind of mold together, kind of. I think they kind of the X2, because it's culture impact and trends.
Yeah.
I think especially this year, it has been a big impact with like Baldur's Gate. Like that brought out a bunch of I think it surged even just like D&D on Google. Like Google Trends like that, and they got a big surge. This was like a major cultural impact where people were just like, "Oh, like this is actually kind of cool. Wow."
Interesting bit for, I think, a negative impact of RPGs have been statistics.
Also.
So, for the tabletop adventures, stats were supposed to be used because you needed a method to keep track of progression in some way. And with the first iteration of role-playing games, it made sense because there's no understanding of not even understanding. There wasn't like the iteration and advancement in technology to try anything other than +2 or -7 or fire. So I think that statistics across other games, even though people like numbers, it's an easy way to tell someone that something has gotten better. It's also plagued a lot of people of just hiding everything behind numbers. Like, you get a pair of boots. It's not a magical pair of boots that help you jump higher or you can walk on walls or something. It's literally +17 armor.
Right.
And it's like these magical boots of
17
you think
armor.
people became too reliant on numbers? That's what you're saying?
They're too reliant on numbers.
I mean, it shows all everywhere. You fucking play any game that has stats, and people care about the number just being bigger instead of actually understanding what the equipment or the unit does itself.
So if they hide the numbers and gave the boosts like actual descriptions of what they do, that would be much better for you.
100%.
Oh, I'd rather know what it's doing for me. Yeah.
Yeah, like I say this, and people can take it if they want. I mentioned Destiny is the game that pulled me away from Skyrim. When I saw what they were doing with the gear, like, oh, you're a hunter and like you dodge, and all of a sudden your boots they help you be invisible when you dodge, and it's like some additive something to you. I'm like, if there were no numbers in this game and it was just a solid, hey, your bullets hurt that thing in front of you, just fire. I'm like, I don't even care how much damage it's doing. Just, I take this. I know a headshot is probably going to take him down. Cool deal. I would be so happy.
Can you turn off those numbers?
No.
No.
No, I don't think you can. And
What's
even
up?
with that, like,
I was asking, can
huh?
you turn off the Destiny 2 damage numbers?
Oh, the
I
damage
don't
numbers?
think so.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, for me, it's not even just seeing the damage numbers. It's the fact
It's like
that
the actual
every time I
damage
open up this
injury. Yeah.
window, yeah,
Um,
every time I open up my character window, there's that stupid ass light level just
Yeah.
sitting there, and it's like
yeah,
you need to be this level to do
we
this activity, and
we
it's
we
like,
were we were talking about that. I think before you joined the
Oh yeah,
call,
before you joined in, we were
where
complaining about it.
mm,
we I think was it like the last 2 or 3 expansions they kept the light level the same, like whatever the max was, they kept it the same, and they didn't
yeah,
raise it, whereas before they kept raising it every expansion. But they were like, oh, we feel like this, it's basically the
it's a
same
good.
argument. This helps people catch up, and then once they get to it, they're able to play more with friends who are already at that cap, right? So it was better for
Yeah.
everyone. And then I don't know if maybe they looked at the numbers or something. They looked at something behind the scenes, and then they
Uh-huh.
decided like, oh no, we're actually raising it, and then we're raising it again with the next expansion. And I was saying like, I actually fucking hate that, because the last thing I want to worry about is the fact that the
Chasing a
gun that I
number.
like using, yeah, well, not even that, just like the gun that I like using, the setup that I like using is no longer effective, all because they raised the light level, and now even though I was at max, I'm no longer at max anymore, and now I gotta
Right.
grind just to get back to that.
Yeah.
All intended.
Yeah,
All which
yeah,
is
yeah.
disgusting. It's like you, yeah. I
Just trying to get you to play the game more. So
yeah.
Mhm.
It's just again crazy because there's some really cool lore behind stuff in Destiny with these
Yep.
different gear sets, and it's like I just I don't know.
It's like they get in their own way, and makes
They do.
it from the outside. It doesn't make any sense. I don't
No,
know
it
what
makes
they're
no sense.
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah, well, they're preying on the largest part of their audience, which are the number chasers. There are
yeah.
people that just
Well,
happy to always see the
that's
numbers go
always the
up.
problem because again, inherently, just like a lot of things in this industry, inherently the stats aren't the problem. It's just the way
Mhm.
people see
No,
them and the way
Yeah.
they're
pretty
like
much.
maybe even presented. Because again, those numbers and stuff for RPGs is like the reason I'm a fan, not because I'm chasing the numbers, but because of the things that they can offer, right? Like Persona
Yeah.
is a great
Yeah.
example. Persona will either sell you or like in the shop, or you'll find a weapon in a dungeon that could be
Mm,
just like 20 to 30 points stronger than what you have. And then it shows you the rest of the stats. It's like, okay, so I can have a 30% damage boost, but I lose my crit bonus and I lose accuracy by 25. Is that worth it in the grand scheme of things versus just keeping my weapon and maybe getting something that's 5 points stronger, maybe another bonus that's like luck, but my accuracy is like 99. And so it's like
Mm.
things like that.
um,
I like having that variety in those stats and things, and I love optimizing in my way instead of just looking at like what's the highest number, because I'm pretty sure plenty of people play the game, see that
Mhm.
it's a 30-40% damage bonus, and they're like, and without reading the rest, they're just like, yep, put it on.
Well, it's like that's how I played Pokemon when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah,
oh, this move does this number of damage. I'll do
but
this
you're
one.
not seeing that it's a
I'm not.
50% accuracy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not seeing any of that. I was just like, big number. Let's do it.
the interesting thing to me, which I'm saying, I think the statistics thing has to be evolved, or I wish it was evolved. Let me say, for my own thing, I wish it was evolved. Um, One of the first games I worked on for like myself, like my own little personal project, I put together a system in a whole. It was a whole game actually, like its own little section of stuff, and it was supposed to be your character had their very specific lineage, and they were pretty much alien. And it was like, "Yeah, let's get it off of whatever. They're pretty much alien individuals, and they had their own abilities and stuff. But the idea was there was no numbers. It's just this person movement method is flying. This person can run on walls and jump high. This person can teleport. That's about it. No cooldowns, no nothing. And then it's like, okay, you can get weapons, but they're very specific. There's a steel weapon, a dragon weapon, and they all have a different function. And then here's this thing that you need to solve. I shared that around and got so much backlash about how, like, how are we supposed to tell we're doing better? How are we supposed to this, that, and other? And I put out the statement of like, well, shouldn't you just be trying
Playing
to
what you
go
have fun
through and
with.
yeah, like just have fun with this, with these tools? Like literally, it's a game space with tools to solve problems. That's it. I'm like, if you take the tabletop adventures, that's what it was. You ran into some weird adventure and looked like, oh, you killed the beast and a sword of fire drops. Would you like to pick it up? It's like, sword of fire sounds cool. Let's pick this up and go for the next camp. So that's like what I was trying to put out there. And people were hating it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, y'all are so ingrained in numbers.
They want things spoon fed to them.
Yeah,
They
pretty
just
much.
wanted like, show me plus 15. Show me that I am like, show me that gold number that says max on it. And I'm like, you can't just
Yeah, like I get,
go
I
away.
don't mind looking at those numbers, but like Cheeto said, like what's under the what's the description of the weapon? Like, what
Also,
else
you
does it
guys
give me
can,
besides that,
you
know?
guys are fighting, like, let's say you're playing the game a bunch. It's going to be similar enemies you're running throughout, right? It's going to be variety, but you'll eventually run into the same one, right? You can't tell you're
Pretty
killing it a
much.
little bit faster or a lot faster. You can't make those distinctions on your own without the numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what it is what it is. We have all these fucking people that need these values because they can't just make the intuitive decision anymore.
Yeah, they just want to be told at this point, which that's what I'm saying about the cultural relevance of like some of the things I wish numbers and statistics would be used differently. But it brings in money, so
Right.
So,
who knows?
so here's my question: where do you see RPGs going in the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Honestly, I kind of hope that Metaphor and Expedition 43 break out into the bigger market of like games to hopefully give us a new evolved version and take on turn-based. I think
Right.
RPGs could gain a lot by maybe evolving the system even further than Persona and Metaphor and hopefully Expedition 43 are doing, at least with the way it looks, and stop trying to focus so much of this action live action, because like I know a lot of people do like it, but I feel like especially for a game like an RPG, like you can have your games that are action based, but not every game has to be action based. Not like Final Fantasy doesn't have to evolve into an action based system to be relevant. You guys are Final Fantasy. Do what you guys do best, which is stories and characters, and then just give us a solid, well thought out battle system. And guess what? It'll do just as good, if not better.
Yeah. At least Dragon Quest is still turn based. So
Right, Dragon, and they're doing just as good as they've ever done. Yeah, Octopath as well, and Triangle Strategy, stuff like that. And like those games are still, and Pokemon. So like they're still doing it. And Pokemon's one of the most profitable IPs in the world, and they've been turn based since day one. So they just change it up and give people what they want, some variety, new Pokemon, new moves, new systems like the Mega Evolutions and stuff like that. And guess what? That's enough for them.
Yeah.
So that's where I hope to see it in the next few years. Whether it actually happens or not, I don't think so. I think we're going to go down this path for the next 5 years of them trying to make RPGs more accessible to the common guy who plays Fortnite or whatever, or common girl who plays Fortnite. But I think that's just going to end in failure and probably hurt RPGs more in the long term than just trying something different.
Yeah.
I think the category will disappear in the next 10 years. I think it won't even be its own thing.
No.
It'll probably be like a whole nother term for these type of games.
It'll be something. It'll be something almost as niche as like fighting games at this point, if it keeps going the way it's going now.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like just like a stagnant of like, I'm not gonna say imagination. Well, it could be imagination or creativity, but like
it's a stagnation of creativity and trying to rehash old things to try to make them new or more. And I think games, both fighting games, shooters, MMORPGs, and RPGs in general, I think when they stop trying to accommodate the casual player or bring in I get it, it's for money, but the second they stop trying to bring in new players by making things easier or whatever, they lose the essence of what they were and are no longer as good as they used to be. I think they're hurting themselves and their IP more by doing those dumb things instead of just focusing on what makes those games unique and fun and interesting.
I will say this, not to like defend a multi-billion-dollar company, but I don't know how much I buy into the artistic stagnation as much as I'm sure there's artists, writers, coders out there that have an idea for an RPG that would be amazing. But when they try to pitch that to a game company, all a game company sees is a one-off purchase. And game companies right now, and for the last like maybe 10 years or so, have been pulling away from games like that. Just they're afraid of one-time purchases. What they want is somebody to play a game for the rest of their life and to spend as much money on that game that entire time. I think that's
Yeah.
what sucks because I'm sure, like, I hate to be the person to be like, oh, the game industry is shit because everybody wants to do the same. Everybody wants to make Fortnite, blah blah. Blah. I'm
Yeah,
sure
but
there's
I
people.
mean,
I'm sure there's like coders out there who want to do a different kind of game, but they just can't because the system's not set up for them to like even present that
well, yeah,
information
and
anymore.
that's why when we say those things, we're not talking about like the developers themselves. We're talking about
Yeah.
just gaming industry in general.
Yeah,
Like that's what
Oh,
they're
no, I'm talking
doing.
about the
Yeah.
developers too. No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about.
I don't know what's
I
going on
will.
behind the scenes like he does, so
Yeah.
I can't speak for them. But when I'm saying like the lack of creativity and things like, I'm talking about the gaming industry as a whole because of what they're putting out.
Yeah.
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 Between Jeremy
I
and myself, I will say this. What you just said is about 50-50 because
Mm.
the entities that be, they have their own idea of what, keeping the stuff afloat is.
Mhm.
But these designers suck. Like they just straight up suck.
Most designers
it-
are not good. Yeah,
Like
you're
the
correct.
decisions are insane. I'm like, bro, who thought this was a good idea? And they're looking like, yeah, it was good, right? It's like, no,
No.
this shit is trash. Like, what are you? They're like, I'm like, yeah, look at me go. I, it's it.
I mean, you can place the blame on designers, the directors, publishers. I mean, the blame can go so many
All over the
places. It can go all over the place. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's E for everybody. It's E for everyone. That
Right.
blame is just because whenever a game comes out and it's like creatively bankrupt, so many people failed at every level. Like it's like like what junior designer came up with something? What lead designer signed off on it? What senior lead designer took that to their boss? What boss said this is okay? It's like you
Right.
got so many
Frederick is like,
checkpoints.
yeah, let's do that
Trash,
right
man.
there. That sounds good. In
I-
actuality, no, it was not.
No. And you know what's really crazy too? Most of the time, by the time it gets to the player, it's like the 10th iteration.
Yeah.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
10 iterations to get to this garbage. When a player can go on the modding scene and make an entire quest, an entire new system for somebody's game
That hurts
in
me, dude.
6 months.
The game comes out and people and then people mod it to how they're liking. It's like, well, I guess the game just actually sucks at that point, huh?
Yes.
Why are you
You are correct. That's why we mod it like this. Like Skyrim. That's the only way I play it.
No.
Skyrim is just ass. That's what I'm
Okay,
hearing.
okay.
Skyrim is just not good.
Okay,
Not
fair,
good.
fair enough.
I
It's
understand.
still rough,
I
like-
understand now. I
Yeah, see,
understand.
that's you get it now. See, like sometimes
I
it's
get it
just
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a sad time. It's a sad time for RPGs. I'm hoping there is like an evolutionary point to where maybe, AR, VR gets to a point to be the new vehicle for role playing experiences and they can get redefined.
But you
But
get Skyrim VR, dude, right there.
no, it's not the same. Even that is just
We're redefining the genre, right? As we speak, for
redefining the
$60.
genre. I can get on my horse in VR.
no. That's a rough time. That's a rough time. But I don't know. We'll. I'm hopeful
See-
and also skeptic about what's
Yeah.
going to happen in the next 10 years for
Yeah.
this genre.
Like I
'cause
said, I don't know where it's going to be even in 5 years, so we'll see where we're ending up.
Yeah.
With the
Pretty
rise of the competitive shooter and things of that nature, it's looking more and more grim every year for sure.
Yeah.
Wait, that's such a sad note to end it on.
It is.
Something
Something
it
really
is what it
interesting
is.
though.
Mhm.
I've also realized that people are getting their RPG fix off of playing these other games as well, because they've introduced all the different like RPG elements into so many different products. No one has the attention span to sit through an actual RPG anymore.
Which is wild.
Because like,
Yeah.
when I say, yeah, me saying actual, but like a more true to form RPG,
RPG, right?
like Baldur's Gate, because the amount of people that completed Baldur's Gate 3 is still small. People that actually completed The Witcher 3, small.
Right.
They'll hop onto it because like, oh, it's the next big thing to do. Everybody's talking about it, streamers
Yeah.
and da da da, but they don't finish it. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to shooting people in the face in Call of Duty and use my custom weapon and run around looking like a reptar or whatever the hell. It's just
They have a Teletubby now. You talking about?
Teletubbies?
Hold on, bro. Hold
Wait,
on.
really? That shit actually would be
No.
so funny running around as a Teletubby.
I'm over exaggerating.
No,
But,
it better
Are you
be.
talking about those
Otherwise,
creepy bunnies? You talking about the creepy bunnies with the teeth and they all got the different suits?
They're like a very colorful suit.
Yeah, colorful. It's like, and they got big heads, like rounded. They
that's
got
not as.
weird.
Nah, I want
think so.
fucking. I want the Teletubbies with their noises running around shooting people in the
Oh
face.
no!
Like that's what I want.
No!
I don't know
No!
if I
No!
can-
No!
If
What
I can
the
find it, I'll send it to you. But yeah, that's painful, dude.
Yeah, that was.
Ew! I found
What
it. It's so
RPGs, right?
gross.
You did?
Yeah, I found
Oh,
it
God.
immediately. They're so gross.
Yeah, it's a creepy looking though. Yeah, no.
And they got like blood
But
coming
while
out of their
we,
mouths and shit. Whatever.
Yeah, and while we're towards the end, that question I posed earlier about like which one should take priority, the player's fun or like the RPG systems? What do y'all think for like final thoughts?
Are you talking
I-
about that, Chilo, right? In
I
discussion.
let me see. Hold on, I have to
Yeah.
look real quick. Oh no, that's
Oh,
not what I
No,
saw.
not that thing. No,
That's what I'm
not that
talking
thing.
about.
Nah.
No, what I'm talking about is
Yeah, that's
this
all
right
what I was
here.
talking about. That weird, creepy little.
Yeah, that.
Oh.
Yeah. No, them
That's
things.
even worse.
That's yeah,
So,
like I said,
That's
that's
not the same. Yeah, that's horrible.
okay.
I'm
So
sorry.
and
Oh
I
my
guess
God.
because it could be different depending on who you ask, but for me it's 50-50, right? Like I think it's important for developers to like put their systems out there and make it like important, like, you know, it's like, this is what I intend. Their intention should be apparent and should be like, you know, a big push, right? But at the same time, it can't be so like forcing your intention on the player that they're not even enjoying it because it's just like not fun to play or whatever. Like Skyrim's battle system, for example.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
It's
So
all
like
right.
if the average player can enjoy it or it's not fun to them, then what's the point of you spending all that time to try to force it to be the way you want it to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Jeremy, Chris, anything?
I think at least for me, my hope is that we get a game like Baldur's Gate 3 at least once every couple years. Like I'm not expecting crazy RPGs for the rest of my life, but if we get a couple of those every now and then, I'm okay with that. You know, so like works of like of love, of labor like that just that'll sustain me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
I think for me, sorry, go ahead. You got more? Oh, sorry. I think for me, I think I said my piece. Like there needs to be innovation across, well, not just for RPGs, but across the board for every genre at this point.
Yeah. True. And I will do my thing on that question I asked y'all. I would say it should be in the lane of fun, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think a developer's systems should ever be in the way of the player enjoying themselves. And for the hope, I want a Star Trek game set in the style of Baldur's Gate 3.
That'd be pretty cool.
Give
That'd be pretty cool.
Give me a damn Star Trek game. That place like Baldur's Gate.
That would be pretty cool.
Paramount, whoever the fuck, like, do it. Like, I will build it. I got systems already. Let's go. I can even make it co-op. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
We can make it happen.
But yeah, outro.
Yeah, we can just do our outro. I think
let's
we've
do
been on this topic for a little while. We can always come back to it if people want us to come back to it. Maybe get a little more in depth about it or talk about specific games. We can even do that. But we can do our good old weekly what's going on in our lives if we want to share type shit, what we've been having fun with. Chris, you want to go first?
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the Jedi Fallen Order, the newest one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I finally got around to playing it. I think I just started like maybe the third or fourth mission, but it's been going great. I like it.
I haven't even played the first one still.
It's so good. I finished that thing. It's so good.
Okay.
I agree.
I think it's on Game Pass too, because I think you have Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass, so I don't have an excuse not to play it. I just haven't played it yet.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. What about you, Jeremy?
Well, this past weekend, my mom came down.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
With her coworker to do like a mud run. She didn't do the mud run. Her coworker did. So we just hung out with her, basically.
Gotcha. What about you, Daquan?
I am out in Florida for a bit, just visiting a buddy. So those things.
Just
And
living.
then,
Just living.
yeah, just living. Then did some karaoke last night, so my voice is like a little bit off. But
That's
yeah.
always a lot of fun. I love me some karaoke. This week hasn't been a whole lot of fun for me. I've spent the last week and a half just going to work and studying during work, and then coming home and studying even more because I had my CCNA certification on Friday. Luckily, I passed, so now I can go back to living my life of carefree freedom. But yes, it was. Thank you. It was it was rough, and it was like I almost took the full 2 hours too, which was a new one for me, since I usually finish exams pretty quickly.
Well,
but other than that, yeah, thanks for listening again, guys. This one was a little kind of, we had an outline. We mostly just kind of talked about and ranted mostly today. But we'll see what we talk about next week, because I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea.
My hope next time is to do the journalism one, but I want to make sure that's right.
Yeah, make sure we actually properly research that one and actually have a proper discussion about it, because it is important. And while I think gaming journalism isn't like the end all be all, I do like having those publications and someone trusted to talk about it. I just think because you start adding in things like sponsors and money, it kind of always gets tainted and it always goes the wrong way.
Yeah.
Let's save it for the episode.
Yeah.
Yes, we do this. It'll be great.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm definitely not gonna see someone just pulling their hair out and start drinking.
Not this week.
Yeah, not this week. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thanks for listening, guys. We'll go ahead and sign off. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
See ya.
Peace.